Alright, welcome to another GreaseMonkey video. Today we're going to be going over the settings that I have on my Blender for grease pencil use. So we're on 2.82 and you see right in the splash page this beautiful looking illustration made in grease pencil. And if you want to check this out and actually open up this project file, Blender provides it for free on the website. If you just go to blender.org, go to downloads, and you'll see here you'll press demo files, and you'll see all the demo files, all the splash screens from all the versions, Eevee demos, cycles, grease pencil, physics. It's great. I would definitely suggest going on here, downloading some demo files, and just really looking through these very beautiful and even complex files. They're great. You'll learn a lot from them. Alright, so we're here in 2.82, and this is just a nice default fresh Blender. I'm going to turn on my screencast key so you can see what I'm pressing here. Alright, and have it black here because you'll see why now. So first thing you want to do is go to File, New, and then go to 2D Animation. This will give you the nice 2D animation workshop or workspace, I mean. And you can just draw here. But here's some settings I like to set up just for the way that I like to work. So first I like to go into object mode and make the camera, not the camera, the screen of the camera. So I like to make it square. I usually post things on Instagram. So we'll make it square there. And, ooh, can't see my screencast keys. What is happening? There we go. So all I did was put this 1080 to 1080. And you saw that I was zoomed up on here, and what I did is I pressed home, and that kind of centers the canvas so you can see the whole thing. So I have it in square here, and this is just how I like to work. I like the square canvas. So that's one. The second thing I like to do is, let's go back to our stroke, go back to draw mode. First, second thing I like to do is set up my materials. It starts off with these materials like red and gray, black dots, and honestly I never use any of these, so I don't know why they're here. So I like to erase these materials. Boom, boom, boom. I keep black, and since the materials work by either being a stroke or a fill, I like to put the annotation in the front. So since this is a stroke, I'll keep the black stroke, put an S and a dot, so I know that that's a stroke. Sometimes these little icons don't update quickly, and that usually is supposed to tell you what it is, but I don't trust it, so I just put an S. So I like to set up the black and gray, like black to white, like all the grays in between. And I do this so when I'm coloring and blocking everything out, you could just change these materials to any color, so it makes it very useful. So let's see, I'll make another one. I usually like to block out things, so I use the fill mode, and what that does is if you circle, it'll just make the shape instead of doing a stroke where it would just do a line here, as you see. So we would do the fill, and for this one I annotated F for fill, and I will also make this one black. So I have a black stroke, a black fill. Now I'm gonna do, I'll hit black here. I'll hit this little dot to duplicate the data block, so it'll just make a duplicate of this black here. Boom. And I'll change this one to fill 75, and for me that just says that it's 75% black. So we go to color, and to get it 75%, it's this vibrance key here. So 1 is white and 0 is black. So 75% black would be 0.25 vibrance. So there we go. We'll do another one. Maybe and we'll name this one, duplicate it, and name this one 50. So that's like right in the middle gray. And that could be 50 here, 0.5. I'll do another one. Duplicate it, 25. Nice. Put this to 0.75. and we'll do the last one, which will be white. Boom, boom. And I just call this one white. Oh yeah, one thing I like to do is I don't like to work with full black or full white. So for black, let's actually take this down to 0.1. And we'll make the white 0.9. I just find it a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and it's just not just this bright or dark spot. Makes it feel more natural. So now I have black, 75% gray, 50% gray, 25% gray, and white. And this will help me for blocking, for like foreground and background elements. And then I also have my stroke that I can use to sketch or draw or anything like that. The next thing I like to do is go into my layers, and it starts off with 2 layers of fill and lines. You can leave them there. So usually I'll put my I'll put my lines, call it a sketch, because usually I start with the sketch. And the fill, of course, fills that out. All right. The other thing that the way the grease pencil works is, so let's say I draw a circle here, and if I move down the timeline down to 10 and I draw again, that goes away. So the stroke stays there until the next stroke happens, and you can just keep doing this. And you'll see that this is how you do like an animation where you're just doing it frame by frame. Obviously this is not like useful, because usually you would animate like on 2s and 3s, but let's say you wanted to draw something and add to it and you don't want it to go away. There's a button up here. It's usually not labeled. It's so tiny too. It says use additive drawing. So when I'm on another frame and I draw, it just adds to the layer there. Boom, boom. You see that it starts adding in things. So that's pretty useful. All right, let's undo that. Another thing that's really useful to know is, let's start using, I try to stay up here. Sometimes I keep catching myself going to the right panel, but I think it's probably a lot better just to work off this top bar here. Another thing I like to do, let me show you. So let's say I have this black, and let's say I have this gray, and the gray goes on top. Let's say I wanted the gray to go behind. There's this button here, and it's called draw stroke on back. So when you draw the stroke, it actually puts it behind every layer. As you see there, let's put another one, and that one's all the way in the back. But let's say that you wanted to move this white layer further up front. What you have to do is you have to go to edit mode. This is very useful. You click on the stroke that you want. You make sure you're in stroke mode. I think that's what this one's called. Yeah, all strokes. So yeah, I usually stay in stroke mode. So I go to stroke mode and right click it, and you'll see that there's an option here that says arrange stroke, and you can start bringing it to the front. These are usually not keyframed, or not keyframed, key mapped. So what I did was I key mapped it to the right bracket and the left bracket. So when you hit, let's say forward, you see that this one starts coming up forward. So forward, back, and you can, this is how you can layer up your layers. Or see, this is where it gets confusing. These are the layers, but within the layer you can have how your objects appear. So if you're keeping it all in layer, this is how you control that. Front, forward. And in edit mode, it's really neat where you can use everything else in Blender, where you press G, move it around, hit S for scale, press X on the x-axis, and then you can scale it down, grab, you can rotate it. And honestly, this is the power of Blender, and using the grease pencil is to use these methods and use it to the best of your ability. Because let me see if I can show you an example. Let me erase everything. If I were to, let's say, draw a head, right? Let's draw it now. Get here, draw the head, do a head like that, and then I'm going to draw on the back so you can see where the neck is. and I draw a neck. So see, the head's kind of weirdly shaped. So instead of like drawing it over, you just select the strokes, all the strokes, and then you can hit S a scale. Maybe it's too small, too big. You know, I think I can make it longer. You can rotate it like this. Hit G to grab, and then boom, you solved your problem without needing to draw the stroke. And I think you should be dipping into the edit mode as often as you can, so you can tweak and fix. It's a lot easier to fix something than to just get it right, like on that perfect stroke. So that's another tip I have for you. All right, another tip I have is when I was trying to figure out where the onion skinning is. So let's see, erase everything here. So when I was drawing the strokes, I wanted onion skinning and I just couldn't understand where it was. So it's already on here, but you can take on and off the onion skinning. It's with this button right here. Onion skinning. It took me forever to figure it out, but if it's off, you won't see the onion skin, and now you see it right here. So if you don't see onion skinning, check if it's on here, and also you can check if it's on this viewport overlays with onion skinning, and that's how you do a good old onion skin. Another neat trick is moving something with like interpolation. So what it'll do is it'll calculate the frame before and after it and animate and add the keyframes in between. So let me erase these keyframes here. Edit mode. All right, let's draw a circle. And keyframes. Let's put it over here. So we got a circle, and then we move the timeline over, go to edit mode. Let's say I want the circle now to be over here. And now you see that it's between these two spots. But let's say I wanted it to actually move to that spot. So what I do is I go into between the keyframes, between the first and the last, and go into draw mode. And here you'll have draw, interpolate, and you can hit interpolate. And see, and this lets you choose the keyframe in the middle on where it would be. So let's say you wanted it here. So now it added the keyframe, the interpolated keyframe, and it's blue. And you see that it goes from there to there to there. So let's say that you wanted to actually have one movement, so it fills in all these keyframes. So you would do the same, have the first one selected, or have them both selected, put your cursor in the middle, go to draw, interpolate, and sequence. Now it'll actually move the stroke all the way across. So this is how you can do like what is it, tweening, or keyframing objects, strokes to move left and right without getting out of draw mode. All right, and let's delete those keyframes. Oops. Got it. We'll go back to the first frame. All right, so let's say you have something that you want to loop. So this is something that's also very useful, is it's a modifier. So let's say I have an eye that's open, and I have an eye that will be halfway open now, and then an eye that's closed. Oops, maybe the eye would be here, right? Nope, it would be there. All right, so I have this eye opening and closing, right? So let's say I wanted it to repeat, go back and forth. So what I would do is I would go to this modifier tab here. It's a little wrench. Click the grease pencil modifier and time offset. It's kind of misleading because it seems like you just got to offset the timing. But there's an option here that says keep loop, and then it's check marked, hit custom range, and our range starts from 0 right here, and my keyframe ends at 14, and I'll put it to 14. Now when I play it, it'll just keep looping, and sometimes you want that for certain animations that you have. Right now it's just keeps looping, so if I added, let's say 30, it blinks, and every 30 frames it starts over. and you can set the time frame. You can make it go faster. I think it's, yeah, for the scale you can offset it, and this is how I will make like random blinks and things like that. So this time offset is very useful. This is also useful if you wanted to, let's say, do lip syncing. So you would draw all the lips that you would need to draw. You draw all the lips. So let's say you have like an ooh. Yeah, these are terrible lips. And ooh. Huh, this offset still threw me off. There it is. So you got an ooh, an maybe like these little lips here. So what you do is you'd use the time offset, and you would go to fixed frame, and you would keyframe these different frames so you can have the right math at the right time. So you would have the audio playing in the timeline, and then you would keyframe when the mouth appears, and this would be an easier way to do lip syncing. Like, I can't wait till I get a chance to start using this on a bigger project and do some lip syncing. I know that sounds tedious, but this solution's it's very elegant. I like it. I like it a lot. It's much less daunting than using After Effects for me. All right, another tip is let's do some fills, right? So let me delete these keyframes. So let's say I have this stroke like this, and I want to fill it with gray. So if I try to fill it with gray, it fills the whole canvas with gray, and that's because this spot's open here. So if you just hold Control, this kind of it makes a fill for you. So you draw the fill with the Control while you're on the bucket tool here. Now you close that gap. Oop, I did it. There we go. Oh, it's still open. It's open over here too, and it's open over here too. And now you can fill it. So basically you would use the Control to fill in gaps. So if I have, oops, if I have the tool here, the pencil tool, and you want to use the bucket tool, you could just use Control, close the gap. Oop, you gotta use a fill material. So hold Control, there you go. Then you can fill in different areas and blocks, and that's usually how I sketch out or how I fill out my characters. Is sometimes I'll sketch it out and then start filling in the colors in the back and moving it like that. So I think that's a really neat thing to know. All right, another thing I think is useful, let's delete that, is the symmetry tools. That they don't really go over it, or I haven't seen people go over it, so let me go get into that. All right, so the symmetry tools are right here. There's this little icon here, it says use guides. So if I enable the guide, you see this little red dot here. This is where the guide is located. You go to guides, let's do circular. So if I do circular, it goes around this, right? And that's the only place it goes. And you can do some perfect circles, which is real nice. But what if I wanted to move this guide? So if you go here on the guides options, you'll see that it's on the cursor, but then our cursor is not visible, right? So for some reason it's disabled. So if you go to the viewport overlays and put 3D cursor, you'll see this little red and white cursor appear. And now you can move this cursor by going to the cursor tool here, and you can move it over there. And then when you go back, your circle tool is now in that corner. An easy way to access these tools is to hold Shift Space, and then you can pick from this menu. And I really suggest using the shortcut keys, because they will make your workflow so much faster. And I know it's sometimes hard to remember, but guarantee you the faster you learn those keys, the faster you're going to be. Like, the tool gets out of the way and you can just create. So yeah, so hold Shift, hit Space, and we'll do draw, or no, let's go to the cursor, we'll move it there, we'll go back to draw. And I would definitely play with all these guides here. They're all pretty kind of self-explanatory. Like this, you know, there's lines that are going perpendicular or going straight through the line here. This is a great way, honestly, to probably make a perspective guide. So you just set the perspective, put the line there, go to radial, and then you can start setting up perspective. We'll lower the opacity on this, make another layer, and then you can take the guide off. And let me use ink, it's a lot darker. And then you can start drawing in perspective. I definitely would suggest to look that up. Alright, so then another thing you can do, oops, Shift C, put the cursor in the center. So let me erase these layers. Another thing you can do is use 3D models as references, and I think it's very useful. So let's go to get out of draw mode, go to object, and I usually like to put these objects outside of the collection that has the strokes. Hold Shift A, go to mesh, just do a cube. So there's the cube, rotate it around, and there you go. Go back to stroke, and I really suggest using these as reference. This is really good because then you can build things over it, use this as a reference. And as you see when you're drawing, it's actually cutting through the middle there. Let me show you. See, the stroke is going through the object. So for these objects, you would push them a little bit back. So let's go to cube, press G, press Y, and move it to the back. And now your stroke should be in the front. It's also easier to see if you probably add a material to this. And there you go. And you can use this as a reference. You can use different objects. You can use, let's say, Suzanne, the monkey. Oh, grab Y, move behind. I'll go back to with stroke, object, go to draw, my layers. I'll see, I'm doing everything here when I could just go up here, but I don't know, I'm just so used to, since I usually use Blender for 3D, I get very used to this panel over here. So yeah, there you go. You can just use this as a reference. You got the monkey, Suzanne, and you can use that as a reference. I won't consider it cheating. You can just use it as a reference guide. You can see, check if things are correct. It's also really good because the camera has the option to change the focal length, and different focal lengths causes different distortions. Like if I was at 9 and I grab the camera, see how distorted? Yeah, focal lengths matter, so definitely play with that. All right. Let's erase this. Go back to the stroke. To change to different modes, I find it very easy to press Control and then Tab and then move up, and I'm in Draw, move left, I'm in Object, I'm in Edit mode, I'm in Sculpt mode, Draw. Definitely take advantage of Control Tab. Another cool tip is using the sculpting tools on the grease pencil. I think that's also a very powerful thing. So if you, let's say you draw a head, let me draw one now. Draw the neck. You start filling out these shapes. You can start seeing, it's a lot easier to imagine when you start seeing these shapes. See the shapes. So if you go into Control Tab, or you can just go to up here, go to Sculpt. You can sculpt these different strokes. So if you wanted the head to be a little bigger, neck a little wider, put the hands up. You can do that by using the push tool. You can grab. Grabbing is a little bit more aggressive. I think push is a lot better. If you need your lines to be straightened out, go to smooth out the lines, change the strength, like 100, something extreme. You can just smooth everything out. I would definitely take advantage of these sculpt tools. Once again, this is just a little bit of an overview. So sculpting, going into edit mode, moving the objects, scaling them, rotating them, using the sculpt tool. Use all these tools to your advantage for using the grease pencil. Video's a little long now, like 20 something minutes. So I think I'm just gonna leave it here, and if I have any more tips or tools or things I want to talk about, I'll definitely make like a part 2 when Blender 2.83 comes out. I'll definitely be doing this video again because they're going to be using something other than this materials. It's going to be like vertex colors. I'll definitely want to play around with that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys like this long form tips instructional video, and I hope you tune into the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Have a great day.